Hello, hello, this is Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about politics, and where we embrace Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Nancy Mace. I am your host, Negin Farsad, and oh, you guys, these are strange times. And even stranger bedfellows. I didn't realize I was gonna be like, oh my god, like, Lauren, Marjorie, and Nancy, let's brunch. What is happening? We're going to talk about the conservative ladies who stood up to Trump on the ever-evolving Epstein Files. We'll also talk about how billionaires love to own sports teams. We'll pour one out for the penny because it is dead. And finally, a professor tells us which are specifically the best years of your life according to science. Today on the show, what an excellent panel we have assembled for you today, my gad. You've heard her voice many a gajillion times because she is the host of public radio's very own On Point. And I love hearing her voice. I love hearing what she has to say. And you will hear more of that today on this very show. It's the wonderful Meghna Chakrabarti. Hi, Meghna.
Hello, Negin. I'm so happy to be here.
And you are also joined by a veteran of the show. He's a comedian. He's a producer. He does so many things. And in his private life, he's also a member of the armed forces. Don't worry about it. But he's one of Fake the Nation's all-time favorites. It's the wonderful Benari Lee Poulton. Hey, Benari.
How are we doing? I'm so honored to be here with legitimate radio personalities.
Benari, no matter how this goes, the fact that you're wearing a Red Sox cap means like we're gonna be good.
We're good. We're good. Fantastic. This is always my gateway to either this is gonna go well or it's gonna go terribly.
Wait, I was like, what does the B stand for? Because that's not Red Sox.
Sport. Yes, it's sporting.
It's the sport. And it's funny because immediately as you said that, I immediately felt a veil of alienation pass over me. Because I
saw the disassociation happening.
No, Negin, I was once you. Like, honestly, baseball, guys swinging sticks around. But when I moved to Boston a zillion years ago, I finally...
Something changed inside of you.
You kind of have to.
We call it the Big Poppy experience here.
It's either that or you have no friends.
Right. On a sociological front and like a political theory front, I believe in sports fandom as a means of increasing social capital. What up, Robert Putnam heads out there? But like for real, like that I think is the only... I went to one of these ladies basketball programs over the summer, and it was so fun, and it felt like, oh, I'm a part of a thing, and like so I believe in people doing it. And now for the first time in my life, I've made the connection that the B on a baseball cap stands for Boston. I have never made that connection until this very moment.
Oh, yeah.
But guys, I'm only like 25, so like it's fine.
The best years of your life are still ahead of you. Oh, we'll talk about that later. Sorry.
Spoilers, people. Spoilers.
I want everything in that segment to be pulled back to sports, okay? So that's my challenge to the two of you.
Oh, don't worry, Negin. It's coming.
Before we get into the show, I just want to remind listeners that they can go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad, and they can support the show for as little as $4 a month. And oh my God, thank you so much to the people of Fake the Nation for supporting the show these many years. And, you get these really fun bonuses. That's where we really let our hair down. And for example, we just released one about whether you should go to sleep angry at your partner. That's a whole thing. There's science there. We talk about it. We share a little bit of our personal experience in that situation. And so it's really fun. We released another one recently about research that says gut feelings are messages from the future. More maybe science on that. So these are really fun conversations, and I highly recommend them. I obviously am biased. But anyways, go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad for more of the Fake the Nation that you know and love. And let's get into it with topic number 1, culture. You guys, JP Morgan did a survey of the billionaires that bank with them. And even just uttering that sentence made me feel dirty. But never mind, the survey found that something I thought was peculiar, about 20% of the 111 billionaire families that they surveyed owned controlling stakes in sports teams. So appropriate, because we were just talking about sports and will continue. And that number, by the way, 20%, is up from 6% just 3 years ago. So this is a pretty quick change in billionaire behavior. Now, I want you to put your billionaire thinking caps on, and Benari already has some sort of cap on. And tell me, Benari, why do you think billionaires have increased their sports team ownership, or why they get into it at all?
It's a great question, and let me also just say up front that my opinions are my own and in no way represent those of the U.S. Army, the U.S. Armed Forces, the U.S. government, anybody real or imagined. So with that out of the way, I think billionaires want to own shit. I mean, they really just want to own shit, and I think power is making people do shit that you want them to do, whether they want to or not. So sometimes now we're at the point of, it's not just enough to own an NFL team. Now you have to go make them get concussions in Berlin, and we're going to Spain to go do CBT. Like, this is what it is if we're in the modern days of Rome. I want my gladiatorial events to happen on any continent that I decide at any time. We're going to Brazil,
and there will be a docu-series about it, and it will stream on Hulu.
Yes, yeah. And then we'll sell those rights. And then we'll sell those rights to Netflix and continue to make money off the backs.
Exactly. Never stop making money. Meghna, did you put your billionaire thinking cap on, and what did it say to you?
Well, Benari's actually wearing literally the billionaire's thinking cap right now.
Or the B for billionaire.
B is actually
he will understand that it's John Henry's world, and we're all just living in it here in New England. Because the Red Sox being owned by billionaire John Henry.
John Henry, yes. I was about to say that. Yeah.
Why do I think they do it? I think a lot of them, I'm going to just take a page from Benari's book and say none of my opinions are at all representative of anything in public radio, of WBUR, of anything that no longer receives federal funding. None of that.
You are going to be so thankful you said that.
And it is the truth. It is the truth. This is the uncensored version of me. So one day when I become a billionaire, I'll be able to give you the exact answer. But from now, I can just say, I just think they get bored. John Henry made his money in commodities. It's got to get boring after a while. And
that sounds really boring.
And you get a lot of, social capital, as you said. You get to cavort with billionaires in other countries. You get to take pictures next to people like, Ronaldo. So what could be better than that? Also, sometimes, again, just conjecture, but I think that they become pet projects of the billionaires' spouses, whoever they are.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's also a little bit of, to use John Henry as the example, he doesn't just own the Red Sox now, right? He's got a soccer team.
Liverpool, yeah.
So he's got Liverpool. So they branch out internationally, and it does have an effect on the sports teams, right? Because the way in which they view the players, they view them as assets, not as the spectacle itself. The sports is almost becoming less about the spectacle itself and about the buying and trading and selling of these assets. So the Red Sox had this valuable hitter, Rafi Devers, who was sort of underperforming. There was tension, but he had this massive multi-year contract. And John Henry and the ownership of the Red Sox sold him off for very little in return. But the big thing that they got was they got rid of this massive contract, so it freed up all this money for them to use. And did they put it back into the Red Sox? No, he put it into his other pet projects in other sports teams because they have this big pool. So they're managing their portfolio, and the sports teams just sort of become one little crown jewel in their collection.
Can I add something to that? Not to get too overly analytical about the sports, but I guess you can't get too analytical about sports. But Benari said something which I thought was really smart also, that these are assets in a global portfolio. And if you own a US based like NBA team, for example, all the upside, all the expansion is overseas. And there are huge markets just waiting for or they're not waiting, or the leagues here are waiting to push into those huge markets. So I think you're exactly right that it's seen as an asset with almost unlimited upside, unless your team does really terribly. But
But even then, you can sell it for a loss, and then get some sucker on the hook who's an actual fan to turn it around, and then once it's valuable, then you buy it for billions.
Now,
of dollars.
Negin, I promise you, I will not talk too much about this. But since we did bring in soccer, and especially in the UK, my husband is British, and you should be glad that he's not here, because he would turn red in the face and just like spit into the camera regarding his hatred of billionaire ownership of like Premier League soccer.
So because he feels it's degraded the sport in some way.
It's not about the fans anymore. So.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. I mean, the other thing that I think is interesting is the level at which one of the things I think it signifies to me is billionaire insecurity and billionaires being subject to outside influences. So I think there's like this feeling of, oh, did you hear John or whatever this fucking guy's name is, bought the Boston Red Sox or something, and and then another guy's like, I didn't know. What, really? Well, like, I should have. Shouldn't we have? I think we should have. We're also billionaires. Like, John's not like fucking better than us. And so I feel like there's, especially when you look at something that has increased so dramatically in just 3 years, that feels like, oh, you want to buy a sports team? Watch me buy a sports team. And so I feel like there's a little bit of like this weird gamesmanship, like insecurity, dudes being dumb, like thing happening, as opposed to being like, you know what I'm going to do? Oh, you want to go buy a sports team? I'm going to get rid of hunger in the city of Cleveland. Fucking take that. Like, why isn't that the response? Anyways, why isn't that the response?
You couldn't be more right, because there's also a club here, because to buy and sell teams, it needs to get the approval of other owners within. And famously, there is one guy who very much wanted to join the NFL Owners Club, and they wouldn't let him. And now he's the president of the United States of America. So there are consequences for, for these sorts of things as well. But it is cachet.
Mm-hmm.
There is cachet to owning it. And then which of these billionaires get to own it? Who gets to muscle their way in? Who gets to be successful as an owner here within this little mini club?
Don't you think billionaire FOMO is a weird thing, though? Like, I mean, how much money do you have to have before you don't have FOMO?
Totally. Well, that's the interesting thing. Also, is like, if I was a billionaire, or if sports we'll just close on this question. If sports teams were dramatically cheaper, would you have an interest in ownership of one? Let's say they were in your income range.
Oh, absolutely. As a fan,
right.
I think there's
just because of love, because it's
out of love.
Okay.
But I think there's a larger problem here as well. We were joking about the streaming rights and all of that. Part of what's ruining, I think, every aspect of everything in life is that billionaires who don't care about the actual thing that they're making are gobbling up all of these entities as simply portfolio assets. So you don't have people in charge of movie studios or TV studios who have a love of the craft.
Right.
You have people who just want to make money and content and generate some sort of
and
revenue.
Use the word and they use the word verticals and fucking
it's
stuff like that.
It's the same in sports. People love sports. People are passionate about it, and some of the best, most successful sports teams happen because people were fans first and foremost and wanted their team to do well, but also when they scout players to bring on, these people are fan favorites, or I love watching this person play. And it's the love of the game, and everyone has a good experience, win or lose. It's not about how many hot dogs you're selling and how many, can we do the new, the Snow Flurry uniform, and now we're doing it's Women's Week here, and now this week, and they change the uniforms, and everything's about marketing, and it really does take away from the game itself and watching these professionals operate at such a high level.
So I think we can close that out by saying, hey, billionaires, approach your teams with love, and let's see how that works out for all of us.
Or sell them to fan organizations.
Just for, yeah.
We'll take them.
Yeah, like bequeath them to some sort of fan. Okay, let's move on to elsewhere in culture, which is, and it's also sort of the opposite of Billionaires. The penny is dead. We talked about this when it was under consideration, and it happened. The pennies were just too expensive to make. They minted the Treasury Department minted the last set of pennies a couple of weeks ago. I guess, I don't know. Meghna, do you have anything to say about the penny in memoriam?
I believe that my 11-year-old son would give the most beautiful elegy to the penny.
Eulogy, yeah.
Eulogy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but he's obsessed with everywhere we go that has those like souvenir penny machines that you press. He's obsessed with them. He has a collection now. And when he first heard that the penny was going to stop being minted, he came up to me and he's like, Mama, will I be able to use the machines anymore? So I do think, but like to me, even in an 11-year-old, I kind of like caught something nostalgic about the penny. And by the way, I think, sorry, I'm just going to ramble on for a second.
Yeah.
Now more than ever, we do need reminders of great presidents on our money. And I'm very sad that Abraham Lincoln is going to go out of circulation.
Oh my God, I never even thought about who it's reminding us of. But yeah, that's a great point, actually. And it's funny that the first person you mentioned in this discussion was your son, because the first person I wanted to mention was my daughter. She's 6, she's close to the ground, and she sees a lot of fucking discarded pennies, and it delights her to no end when she finds them. And like, look, I know this phase doesn't last long or whatever, but like, I love that she loves that. And then I'm like, oh, are we just going to see fewer of those for her to find? Like, how long is it going to take before the 6-year-olds start noticing a dip in the availability of pennies on the street? So I don't know. That kind of made me sad. Yeah. Benari, where are you at?
Well, I mean, I really can't live up to Meghna's son's eulogy / Hillpenny elegy, or Negin's daughter's love of new and wondrous things. But I will say that it is, it's weird losing a thing, to have a piece of currency, to live through a time when currency can become irrelevant. But I also don't think it bodes well for the Union that the guy who preserved the Union will no longer be memorialized on our change. That's probably not a great sign. Like, if we're doing portents and whatnot, that's probably one of those ill-boding things.
Can I pitch something to, the people who mint... those who mint, what if we, instead of having heads and tails, what if we had 2 heads? And we go ahead and appreciate 2 people on 1 coin. Is that crazy? So
you're really going for it. So you want one, it's now we're increasing the pool of people that we memorialize.
Yes. Well, first of all, we find another space for
Lincoln. I just want to remind you
Lincoln.
Who's in charge of putting those faces on things, because you're not going to get the 2 heads that you want.
Like, imagine...
Oh, it's going to be like Kid Rock. It's going to be Kid Rock, and then like...
If you're lucky.
We might end up with like Trump on one side and Andrew Jackson on the other, so which would be kind of an interesting combination. Or if it was Trump on one side and I don't know, let's put Thomas Jefferson. Well, he's already on the nickel.
I'm pretty sure you're just going to get Trump through the ages. But then, like, here's young Trump. Yeah. Here's slightly younger Trump. Here's Trump when his first
Trump
bankruptcy.
On one side,
like, you're going to get
anybody else on the other side. He would say that every coin toss is rigged. So.
But we would know which side would be the winning head.
Oh, you guys. All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue our chatter. Today's show is sponsored by Schedule 35. And, just big headline here. Schedule 35 is about microdosing psilocybin. And I want to tell you about that. For me, like, that has been a game changer in my personal life. A lot of listeners know I went and did like a psilocybin retreat, and I completely believe in its healing properties, its therapeutic properties. And so when Schedule 35 came over the transom. I was so excited that they wanted to sponsor this show. They have a mission to educate and enrich lives with a deeper meaning and a better sense of self through microdosing psilocybin products. They're combining industry-leading products with educational content to fuel an unwavering desire to build a unified, healthy, and vibrant community. And it's honestly like that was the sense that I have gotten from psilocybin, is that, you know, it kind of does get you closer to like everyone and everything. And Schedule 35 is the first U.S. nationwide trusted consumer psilocybin brand that makes microdosing and living your best life accessible and simple to do, which is really happy for me to hear, because honestly, I feel like when I did it, it was still a little like inaccessible, you know, and they've worked with top athletes and entertainers and executives and artists and more. And, you know, I've written a ton about psilocybin. You could go read my piece in a Farm magazine, and like it's a game changer for me. And I think microdosing can be a game changer for everyone. And the products are backed by science and dosed to a precise amount, so you get exactly what you need to tackle your toughest days without any hallucinogenic effects. Like, honestly, I don't feel any hallucinogenic effects when I'm microdosing. They're on a mission to destigmatize and educate on the science and real-world benefits of psilocybin and make it accessible for everyone. Like I said, every order ships discreetly. It comes with a microdosing regimen that keeps you on track. And it, you know, the question is, are you ready to have your best day ever? Because if you are, you should go to schedule35.co and use the code FAKE to get 15% off your order. That's schedule35.co with the code FAKE for 15% off. I really hope people look into this, because it has really helped me. It's helped unlock just some of my hang-ups and blocks, and it's increased my creative energy, and honestly, it's just done so much for me. So head over to schedule35.co and use the code FAKE for 15% off your order. And thank you so much to Schedule 35 for sponsoring this show. And we are back, and we're ready for topic number 2. I don't know. We got to talk about politics, guys. Did you immediately feel me get deflated? I have been following the Epstein Files, as everyone in America and probably the world has. And the latest turns have been very interesting, because last week when we talked about it on the show, he was very hardcore, don't release. And then recently this week, he was, these Republican women just would not stand with it. These Republican women who, by the way, aren't listening to their men. You know what I mean? They're being mouthy broads, okay, with their own ideas. Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who have been historically very interesting characters to deal with and very MAGA. They were unmoved, and along with Massey, they just were like, we're not changing our vote. This has to come out. And they were heavily pressured. Marjorie Taylor Greene went on TV and like apologized to Dana Bash on CNN for like not being more supportive of people who have been under Trump's fire before. And I just don't even understand what's going on. Benari, what's going on?
Well, I think this was an important issue that was important to their base, but this is also, I think, transcends politics, because you're not just talking about abuse, you're talking about international sex trafficking, and on a larger scale too, an international money laundering scheme. You're talking about every lever of power in multiple countries, in multiple governmental entities. This is a scandal that has brought down Prince Andrew. He's been stripped of his title. So in terms of what we're looking at, in terms of a real focused story, this is so far reaching that it reaches across lines, and really for women, this is where, sexism knows no party. When you feel that pushback because you're not being listened to or not taken seriously, and this is such a unfortunately, because we're talking the Epstein Files, a guy who had a sex island and a sex transporting plane, we're talking about women being abused,
minors.
and minors, children. I know Megyn Kelly has other ideas on the subject of what constitutes a child, but we're talking about children, we're talking about minors, and we're talking about women, and we're talking about very powerful men, and what they forced women to do against their will. And so, of course, that's going to be personal to the women who have been taking up this charge for years, for whatever reason that they were taking it up. Of course, they're not going to just give it up when they're at when they're this close to the goal line, to use a sports metaphor.
But Meghna, my question for you is like, by the way, for just timeline's sake, Trump then reversed his position, was just like, okay, you can vote for this, whatever. Like, we needed your permission, dude. But like, they did need his permission. So anyways, they did vote on it, and everyone voted to release the files in the House. The vote is going to the Senate, I think, as we speak. And we'll see what happens. I'm like very curious about next steps for that and what that entails, and if that still like legitimately means that files will be released. But just in terms of the kind of interesting bedfellows this has created and the interesting about faces that we've seen, I think, like, having watched that Dana Bash, Marjorie Taylor Greene interview, do you believe that that these people are now kind of like beyond MAGA, that they're like, we believe in the kind of political project of MAGA, but like we don't believe in Trump anymore? Or like, MGT said that this has ripped MAGA apart. Do you believe in that people like her have had a real change of heart, and that they, I guess, to what level do you believe her?
Oh, I believe her.
Change.
I do. And it's largely because of what Benari said, that as a woman, this issue first of all, as a human being, this issue lands heavily, no matter who you are. But as a woman, it also lands a little differently. And it does not surprise me that there are these women who defected and decided that they wanted to help get the files released. I mean, we just did an interview couple of weeks ago with Annie Farmer, one of the survivors of this international rape and sex trafficking scandal. And when you hear women share those experiences, it becomes enraging. No matter who you are, I think it becomes enraging to know that there are equally powerful, in fact, more powerful men right now who are blocking the release of the information the government knows that could really bring justice for these women. And so I do believe Representative Greene, this is my public radio part kicking in there. I don't think I've ever said that. I think she's definitely she's authentic in her desire to want the files released, and people have come to Jesus moments, if I can put it that way. And she might be having her eyes open. Whether or not it means that she's beyond MAGA, I think we have to wait and see, because there's so many other issues that she has still, she's holding fast to. Like, ask her about immigration. I'm not sure she's changed that much.
I think in terms of that, this is an issue that has been politicized, that shouldn't be really a political issue. And I know a lot of people on MAGA side were frothing at the mouth because they wanted Bill Clinton to be indicted or go down. And then once the net was cast wider and it looks like, the current president is all over these emails and he's was good friends and they had a falling out, suddenly the tune changed and that politicizes it. Whereas, I view it as like, I don't care whose name, if your name's in it, you should be brought to justice. There's not a name you could throw out there that I wouldn't be like, great, go to jail, go right to jail. So to me, I think the politicizing of it is, some people should be protected in here, but some people should be brought to justice. It's like, no, justice for all.
Can I say one more thing? So I know we've been focusing on the women, but I have to say that this whole saga has really revealed who the truly principled Republicans are right now. And I mean, you mentioned Thomas Massie. He's the one who started taking political risk, right, and demanding the release of the files, even partnering with Ro Khanna to do that. I mean, I can't imagine, speaking of bedfellows, two more opposite bedfellows. And even before that, he has been completely consistent in his deficit hawkishness, which the rest of the Republican Party seems to have completely tossed out the window.
Abandoned.
Yeah, and so I've been really impressed with that in terms of applying his political values consistently, even when it has cost him or potentially cost him a lot of political capital, et cetera. I mean, I should know this, but I don't know. But I'm sure Trump has said that he's going to get someone to primary him. I mean, who knows? But that's been very revealing to me.
He's like weirdly insulted his wife or something after his wife of years died, and I don't know. He's just said some gross stuff.
I don't want this segment on the emails and the files to end, though, without just taking a moment, because I don't think that anything real that this government will release will be very revealing. I think it'll be heavily redacted. We're not going to get the financials. We're not going to get the
photo, whatever photo we're all dreaming of, that photo.
But I do want to say, and because there's so little joy to take in any of this, the emails that have come out, the fact that there was an email that said, does Putin have the picture of Trump blowing Bubba? And that's out there now, and everybody heard it. And by the way, when everybody read that and heard that story, everyone immediately assumed, the president blew our former president. That's what everyone immediately thought. Much so that Jeffrey Epstein's brother had to come out and say, Bubba isn't Bill Clinton. And then more theories popped up because Ghislaine Maxwell has a horse named Bubba. There's someone else's son who's a friend of J.D. Vance whose name is Bubba. And so there's multiple Bubba theories now. And in all of this, at no time did anyone deny that the other part of that email. The only thing that was denied was that Bubba isn't Bill
Which
Clinton.
one, right?
No one was like, that never happened. So whatever is out there.
I know, that's so fucking funny.
I just want to enjoy, if we're gonna be forced to watch
to live through this,
to live through this bread and circus, let's just take the little moments.
Well, that's funny because I was performing in Pennsylvania at this school on Monday, and when all this Bubba stuff was breaking, and I was like doing a bunch of stuff, and I just didn't know the news. And then a bunch of students came up to me and they were like, do you think Trump and Bill Clinton had a relationship? And I was like, what? It just came out of nowhere. And then they showed me a photo, the hand photo. And I was
want more people to ask about it, because eventually he won't be able to help himself. He'll have to address it. But that also he can't not be the best at something. So there's no way that he'll address it without going off script and be like, it's disgusting and
so
the rumor's not true.
He's
but if I did it, I'd be the best at it. Everybody says that I'm better than Crooked Hillary.
If I was Bill Clinton's lover, which I wasn't, I'd be so good at being Bill Clinton's lover.
So much better than Crooked Hillary.
It's funny because I was just like, I was like, if he was Bill Clinton's lover and this whole time he's just closeted and that's his big fucking problem, it would be the only tenderness I feel for that man in my life.
But I don't even think it's that.
Oh.
These are deeply weird men who also are very either intellectual or pseudo-intellectual, and they're into all these psychosexual Illuminati shit. Mm-hmm. They're into the Roman secret societies and ritualistic humiliation. And we were talking earlier about entry into a club for these things. If you talk skull and crossbones, you're talking about dudes who jerked into a skull's eye socket. They do weird shit. To humiliate each other.
Those are supposed to be secret, Benari. How do you know?
Again, my opinions represent myself and in no way represent those in the Skull and Bones Society, the Illuminati, the Masonics.
Now, speaking on behalf of the Skull and Bones Society, may I ask, and I wonder, Meghna, like, he has recently lifted some tariffs that he also imposed, which is fun. He presumably has lifted them because there's been nonstop complaints about affordability. Is affordability such a fucking problem? And the Epstein, and they can't figure out they can't figure out what other ways, like they don't have enough wings of the White House to demolish to like distract people from affordability. Is Trump just sort of like actually have to do something about affordability, or is he just basically just a lame duck president and now all he does is respond to Epstein questions? Like where do we see this administration going?
Well, in terms of the president himself, my speculation is that his performative actions on trying to reduce the cost of certain things has come simply because either someone told him that he cares about, or he's seeing the word affordability on TV so much, he's like, we should do something about that. I can't say that I believe that from President Trump's history that there's a lot of sort of strategic thinking going on. He's a creature of impulse, which is why we have all the crazy tariffs that are all over the map. And right now the impulse has seized him to like be the hero, as you talked about earlier, to be the hero who made oranges cheaper or turkeys cheaper. I don't even know what the reductions are supposed to be on. So does he feel like he has...
Coffee's a big one, by the way.
Coffee's
which I think is like one of those products in America that like when my coffee price went up, my Bodega coffee, not my like also probably that fancy coffee, but like when the Bodega coffee went up, I was like, whoa,
it's
now you're fucking with me,
about.
Dude.
It's the thing I am angriest about. And I know we're talking about kidnapping and we're talking about extrajudicial murders.
But like seriously, are you kidding that my Bodega coffee?
Come
are
on,
you
man.
fucking with my Bodega coffee? Oh my God. Sorry, continue, Meghna. That's right.
All I was going to say is that for years now we've known that when people want to get a message to Trump, they go on Fox. He's not so keen on Fox anymore. Like literally, are just talking to him. So I'm wondering if something like that did happen, since even Fox was talking about affordability. But I think is he a One News America guy now? But so does that mean that it's a deliberate attempt to distract from the Epstein Files? I don't think so. And also, even if it was, it hasn't worked.
Right. It's funny because it's like he has to distract. He has to do like multi-layer distraction because he has to distract from the Epstein Files while also distracting the fact that he's the one that's causing the higher prices with his own tariffs that he's also some of them removing. So it's a distract. It's like he has to do a thing and distract from a thing and then distract from the thing he just did. And it's like the guy has to be busy at doing literally anything but like actually improving the lives of American people. It's so interesting. Also, coming on the heels of they still got to take this fucking vote about the subsidies on healthcare. Mm-hmm. And I know people that are just like in tears over the increases that they're expecting. Crazy 300-400% increases that they're expecting to see in their healthcare costs. I mean, I'm like surrounded by freelancers, so it's like you can imagine what the freelance world, who largely buys into Obamacare, is experiencing. You were going to say, Benari?
Well, you live by reality TV, you die by reality TV, and I think when you create the atmosphere that gets attention and gets people watching you, the flip side is that now people are watching you and now you have their attention. And when you make it all eyes on me all the time, then you are now at the center of everything because you've said that you are doing all this. So when prices continue to get high, you have to address it because you've made it about you. So in the and there's only so much reality people can ignore before they go, that's not right. And I think a little bit of this happened with the Epstein Files as well. People can be gaslit when it doesn't affect them directly. They can say, okay, I can ignore that. But everybody knows that their coffee got more expensive. Everybody knows that their grocery prices are up. You can say whatever you want, but everybody knows that they're paying more now in groceries than they did a year ago. So there's only so much that the talking points work. And at some point, the reality has to be addressed. And when you're talking about a base that is that riled up and has shown they've shown a willingness to bring about their demands through violence sometimes. You kind of have to tread lightly. Like, you don't want them to get too angry.
Well, and also, I mean, I think that's a really interesting, a great point of, like, someone who's brought so much attention to something and who said things like, I alone can fix it. I mean, how many times do we hear I alone can fucking fix it? That means that, dude, you've said that phrase, now fix it. And it doesn't matter if you're dispatching your Treasury Secretary or whoever to say, no, these are Biden's like increases that we're experiencing. Like, what? No, like, after a year, you don't get to say that anymore. What happens to I alone can fix it? So I think, I think that's an excellent point. Folks, let us move on, take a quick break, and we'll be back. And we are back, and we're ready for topic number 3. And before we get into topic number 3, I just want to remind listeners, I am going to be doing a Muslims Are Coming show on December 12th in Washington, D.C. If you are in the D.C. area, we would love to see you. We're going to be at the Atlas Theater. You can get tickets. Tickets are super cheap. We're trying to make this a super accessible show with lower barriers to entry, so please come out to see The Muslims Are Coming in D.C., and you're going to see some of your Fake the Nation favorites on the lineup, because on the Muslim front, I'm being joined by Jabran Salim and Yasmin Aladi, but on the non-Muslim front, because each show has like a core Muslim with like a little outer layering of non-Muslim, and the outer layering of non-Muslim for the show is Fake the Nation regular Corey Ryan Forrester and Fake the Nation regular Ophira Eisenberg. So this lineup is ridiculous. It'll be super fun, and I will tell you a little bit more about the Muslims Are Coming sequel that I am in fact making. Don't worry about it right now. I don't have like a full announcement capabilities at the moment, but eventually you will hear about this sequel that I am making. So come out. I would love to meet you if you're in the DC area. Hit me up. All right, now let's get into it with topic number 3. Laura Karstensen is a professor of psychology at Stanford, and she has a lecture that she gives every year where she tells the students that these are not the best years of your life. According to the professor, quote, I look out at a sea of 100 students sitting in a classroom, and I love the look on their faces. It's just such relief. I can visibly see it because not only are the late teens and 20s the worst time in our lives, with the highest rate of loneliness, anxiety, and depression, but people are constantly telling young people that they're the best years. Now, before we get into her thinking and the science that she cites, were you told that your late teens and early 20s were the best years of your life, Meghna? Was that something you heard a lot?
No. My parents were always like, these are the years you're supposed to work the hardest so you can have your best years later.
How's that working out?
It's working out. That's it.
So they were right.
This is it. I mean, like, I'm just kind of constitutionally not a miserable person, and thank goodness my teens.
I love that.
Thank goodness my teens and 20s were way before the internet and smartphones, because that's a tough one. But this professor is spot on. I mean, that's my experience. Like, I still work hard, but like, it was really stressful, and now I'm just like, I'm fortunate. I super love my job. My kids are healthy and happy. And every year I become more comfortable with how little I actually know. And so it's like life is actually really good.
So that thing of like having more wisdom is not the thing that has struck you.
Well, yeah, no, it's like the kind of wisdom I have is, oh God, I actually don't really know that much, but like that's
right. It's the wisdom to know that you don't know. Yeah.
I told my daughter, I have a teenage daughter, and I told her the other day, I was like, okay, I have this amazing analogy, metaphor for life, because she's like stressing about being a 10th grader, and I was like, your younger years, like life is like a rocket ship, okay? And so like you got to put out a lot of energy and consume a lot of fuel and work really hard in those first few years to like escape the pull of gravity. And then after that, you have momentum and less gravity. So you're just like cruising.
Ooh,
that was my metaphor.
Right. And I like that metaphor. Benari, were you told that your late teens and early 20s were like the high point?
No, I wasn't, but I wasn't really also told that it would get better either. So it wasn't, it was just sort of very existential. Like this is
right.
This is. No, I mean, my parents gave me great advice about a lot of things, but a lot of things that I took also, I never felt like it shouldn't continue to get better. I never felt like there was a cap on things. And I think that there's that artificial nostalgia. I think the reason why people think that it's the best years of your life is because you're young. And then you come into your own in that 18 to 25 year range where you're like, it's about virility and it's about energy and youth. And that's great, but also like your hormones are raging, you don't actually know anything and you think you know everything and you're making mistakes and maybe you get lucky but it's also life is the lottery. It's every day is what you make of it. And so, I go by the philosophers and wise men of they probably got it from Aristotle of a life well lived, but as the sages John, Paul, George, and Ringo had said, the love you take is equal to the love you make. So I think it's what you put in is what you get back, and if you continue to put in, create those circumstances for a good life, your life will get better because that's what you put in, and so you will get more and more out of it. The richness of life, the more. The older you get.
Negin, you got to answer your question. I'm curious. Were you told that your teens and 20s were the best years of your life?
I think there was like a general rhetoric out there that like you're living, you're like like you're being adventurous and you're trying things in your late teens and your 20s, and then once you settle down and you have kids, like that's when your life is over. Like that's kind of like what that's like how it was presented. I remember like that was the dominant discourse, and I don't know if that was just like 20 somethings telling other 20 somethings that like I think it was a lot of that, us just like this was the kind of like thing we all told each other. And I think one thing is true is that I definitely had a fucking great time. I would say it wasn't, like it was not a low point. I don't know that if I felt terribly like depressed or lonely or like, I don't know. I don't know that I felt those things. I do feel like that it was more adventurous, that I was able to be more creative without having fear of like the income repercussions, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I was able to just be ridiculous and not worry about how much money I made because I just lived on beans and it was fine. So there was just like a different vibe. But I mean, I do think one of the points that she makes, she says, and this was from a Q&A with her, so I'm quoting her. She says, older people aren't happier. We don't see changes so much in happiness across the life course, but we do see a significant reduction in anger and sadness and fear and anxiety. That's why we say emotional balance improves with age. It's different than saying I'm happier. Your emotional life becomes richer and you're more likely to see an old friend smile and get a tear in your eye at the same time. And I think when I was younger, like I don't know that I valued or like I understood the value of other people in my life in the same way, or like I don't know, it didn't all feel as I do think I have more wisdom around people. Like for example, there's been a couple of occasions recently where I'm on the phone with Benari and then or like I've seen Benari and I'll say at the end, okay, dude, love you. And like, I didn't used to, when we were in our 20s, I never said, love you, dude, like whatever. But like, I say it now because I do get a tear in my eye. I do. It's like, I love Benari. Why wouldn't I tell him? You know what I mean? And so now I'm definitely more like, sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you, dude. But no. Like, like I feel more like I do the same thing.
And part of it is that understanding of I don't know if I'll get the chance to say it, so I don't want to be left without letting them know that I care about this person in my life.
That makes me want to cry. Yeah.
I do that all the time in that way where I'm just like, all right, love you, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I didn't used to do that. And I think that's a part of like an emotional wisdom. And like I do feel like that stuff is all settled, where I'm very clear on like who I care about and what they mean and what matters most and all of that shit, which I just like don't know that I cared necessarily. When I was in my 20s, I was like, let's get wasted and go to Brazil. You know what I mean? I was just like that. Like,
well, I think as you get older, I mean, this is what happened to me too. Honestly, when I turned 30, which was quite some time ago now, I actually felt this huge sigh of relief leaving my 20s behind, because I felt myself entering this age where it became less about sort of self-satisfaction or accomplishing my own ambitions, and more about exactly what you guys are talking about, which is trying to, I don't want to say externalize in a bad way, but to see externally the inspirations in the people that I care about, and to, Benari, as you said, communicate that to them before it's too late, because you never know. But it becomes less about the self and more about, the world around you. And that's another thing that happened to me, which I kind of look back and I'm like, damn, I wasted a lot of time in my 20s being anxious about things that ultimately did not matter at all.
Don't matter.
For me, and I came up in high school and college, I did a lot of improv. And that's very much about being in the moment. The one thing that it's yes and, but it's also live in the moment. And I think I took that to heart without realizing it, in that there's always this sense of, okay, when Meghna was saying earlier, you do this up front, you're miserable when you're younger so that you could be happy when you're older or something. But I think there's this sense of, you don't know if it's going to pay off. You don't know what tomorrow brings. So if you live in the moment and you just enjoy the moment that you're in, you create those moments build on each other, and then hopefully at the end you have more in the good column than you do in any of the other columns. And I think that's what it is. And I think as you get older, you actually learn to live more in the moment, because you're more aware of, I blew that one, or I blew by that moment. I didn't appreciate that moment when I had it. And so you appreciate things more now, and that's part of the wisdom of becoming.
This is also why he's a Red Sox fan, Negin, because you have to live in the moment, because it'll be 50 years or so between winning World Series. So.
Thank you for bringing that back in.
And as much as I look forward, the 2004 World Series win wouldn't have meant anything without the 86 years of angst that the fandom did not experience. And so it made the joy even greater.
Oh, that's what everyone thought all those losing years. It's like, wait for it, because when we do win, the joy will be greater, guys. I want to mention really quickly before we end this that she talked about two things from the research. Pro-social behavior is really good in amping your kind of your level, your calm levels or whatever. Older people are more likely to engage in pro-social behavior and also feel better when they do. So they're giving more and they're getting a bigger bang for their buck, which goes back to that Beatles, the love you make is the love you take, or take
the love
make.
you take is equal to the love you make.
So that is borne out by the research that they've done on this. So if you want to kind of get in on this old person's better years thing, get into some more pro-social behavior, because it helps. And then she also talks about the intergenerational hanging out with older people and gaining from their wisdom. And I actually wrote an entire op-ed piece about this for my column in the Progressive magazine called the intergenerational hang, and I love that, because I've made so many more older friends in the last 5 years, and it's been it's just one of those things I find very nourishing. I love asking them questions about stuff I should do, and they kind of love giving me the guidance of what they've experienced and stuff like that. I find that it keeps me a little bit more balanced, and so anyways, go look into those two things if you want to get a little bit of your good years before before they're supposed to come, which, by the way, according to the timeline, 20s are the worst. Then you begin to see some reduction in negative emotion, and it's really going down by your 40s and 50s. 60s and 70s are the peak of life, emotionally speaking. And then after that, it levels off. Then you're just in a plateau of general pleasant pleasantness. So we have
that sounds
all that to look
sounds
forward to.
lovely. That sounds like the Prozac years.
Yes, yeah, the natural Prozac years.
natural
Or it's the
Right.
brain's way of compensating for the fact that the rest of your body is falling apart. So
Right.
I also think you've seen so much.
Thank you for mentioning that, Meghna. Thanks. But we were having a nice moment, and then you had to ruin it. But I mean, sure.
But
yes,
I also
your
think that
muscles
there's
are falling apart.
that at some age you've seen so much that the surprise and the shock of certain things no longer shock and surprise you. It's like when you had 90-year-old women who like lived through atrocities and wars and famines, and then something would happen and they just shake their head and they're like, "Yep, that happened like twice. Don't worry, you'll get through it." Like,
right.
you know, you start to understand. It's like, yeah, when you've seen more, it's not going to bug you as much. You're saddened, but like, oh, I wish we didn't have to do this again. But also,
Perspective is a powerful thing, right? Also,
totally.
none of these things that she advised have to do with this, right? So
phone.
just put your phones down, everybody.
Put your phones down.
touch grass.
She literally never mentioned phones being a positive part of any of it. That's right.
Not,
that's
'cause it's
really
not.
That's a really great point.
Except
All right.
when Negin calls me and tells me she loves me.
But I also like balance out the I love you with like, also you're a fucking idiot, talk to you later. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, I'm still
Love you,
fundamentally yeah, exactly. I'm still fundamentally myself. Don't think that like when I'm not on this podcast I'm suddenly like such a
So sappy, constantly talks about being in Paris.
That said, I love you both. And this has been such a fun episode. And I really want the people of Fake Nation to be able to follow you and all the wonderful things that you do. Meghna, where do they do that?
They should follow us on various socials. I think all of them were at On Point Radio. You could do that. I'm still, I don't know why, but I'm still on X. So I'm at Meghna WBUR there. Oh God, I can't believe, oh my gosh, my staff's gonna be so mad at me. What I really should say is, since you're listening to this amazing podcast, you should also subscribe to the On Point podcast. That's really where you get the best stuff.
But also, by the way, I mean, for real, though, if you like this podcast, I do think you would really like the On Point podcast. So, you know, check it out. We have so many thoughtful listeners to this show. I just feel like it's something that they would really appreciate. So absolutely do that. Subscribe. Benari, where do they find you?
At Benari Lee on Insta and Blue Sky. But I also want to take this moment to promote On Point and public radio and Meghna and the important work that public radio does and public television. It's in dire straits for, you know, various reasons, but it's such an essential service and it's so rewarding. And so please take advantage of all the wonderful things that they put out.
Thank you both so much. It really means a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm also very much involved in public radio. So
I think we're like the target demo for that. Surprising no one.
And folks, you know where to find me and all the things that I do. Don't forget to go to my show in D.C. The Muslims are coming on December 12th. I would love to see you there. Also, if you happen to be in Congress as a representative or a staff member, hit me up. I've got questions for you. Otherwise, go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to support the show. I want to thank everyone who makes the show a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Rob Heath. Thanks to Gabi Alter, who wrote our theme music. You can email us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. And otherwise, we'll be back in your earballs next week.